Salutations! The purpose of this guidance is to provide a walkthrough for submitting a correction. Please make sure you have read the guidance on GIS shapefile requirements before starting this service. Before I get started on the guidance, let's assume for a moment you do not know if what you want to submit is actually a correction. Select correction, making sure that your pop-up blocker is disabled. A help box will appear explaining to you exactly what a correction is. After you've read this information, you can close it and you can make your decision. So let's select correction and hit continue. We are now on section 3. This section ensures that you have selected the correct application type. Answer all questions honestly. The first question asks if you have submitted the proposal to all designated planning agencies. You should never submit anything to the office unless you have consulted with your designated planning agency, if you fall within the jurisdiction of one. So I'm going to select yes. In the event that you do not have a designated planning agency, you will select NA. And by default, NJDEP is the designated planning agency. So I will select yes. After you have selected yes, the service will then ask for the DEPA agency name. You must select an option from the list. If for whatever reason your proposal falls in 2 different jurisdictions of DPAs, then you can add a row and you can choose another designated planning agency, and you also have the option to remove as well. Section 5 is application name. I would highly recommend that you name your application with the project name, followed by the type of application you're submitting, followed by a date. Let's select continue. Section 6 is site information. This is where you will upload a GIS shapefile. Please make sure you have read the guidance posted on the website and/or the video explaining how to have a successful GIS shapefile submission. You can also click in the upper right-hand corner, provided your pop-up blocker is disabled, and a help box will pop up explaining how to submit a shapefile. There are times though when the corrections don't necessarily need shapefiles, and if that's the case, then you can select I do not need to upload a new shapefile. Following that, you have block and lots. You can enter a block, a lot. You would have to select the county, the municipality. You can do this for a range of lots within a particular block. You can add rows. You have the option to remove them. But for the purposes of this video, I'm just going to certify that I do not need to do that. And select continue. We are now on section 7. Here you will provide additional details for the correction you are submitting. For example, you are asked to provide the WIMP document name. Then you are asked to select the correction type. These are the correction types, and you also have the option of other. If you select other, you will be required to put in a description. You also have the option to add a row if you're doing more than one correction, and you also have the option to remove in case you accidentally select a correction. You will select continue. Section 8 is the contacts page. Here you will enter contact information for an applicant, an agent, and a property owner. Everything with an asterisk is mandatory. And I would highly recommend in the upper right hand corner you check this box, save to my favorite contacts. That way, if you come back to submit another application, you won't have to repopulate this information. We will now select Continue. Here, you will upload attachments to support your correction. If for whatever reason this wasn't the right file, I can also select Remove. You can also add additional attachments by selecting this drop down and selecting whatever you need to select. There's also an option to select Other, which you can do as well. Again, if you upload something by accident, you can always select Remove. So let's select Continue. Section 10 is basically you certifying that everything within the application is accurate. Select Continue. Section 11 is you certifying you are who you say you are. Hit Certify. And you have now officially submitted a correction. Select Continue. This is your summary of your application. It includes basic service information, which is important if you have any issues with your application. There's contact information, there's all the answers to the questions within the application, and then at the end is the certification information. You can select Return. Return takes you back to the My Workspace. If you look under Services Submitted, we have our service ID, our application name, what type of revision we submitted. As of right now, it has been submitted, which means it's been submitted, but it hasn't been officially accepted by the department. Don't worry about that. It takes a couple of seconds. Once I hit refresh, it should be submission successful. You have your summary, your history, which is pretty much the same thing, and then once the submission is successful, a PDF icon will show up here, which is the same thing. So let's refresh. As you can see, the submission was successful and a PDF has been created. You have now officially submitted a correction. Salutations. The purpose of this guidance is to provide a walkthrough for submitting a Highlands revision. Please make sure you have read the guidance on GIS shapefile requirements before submitting the service. Before we select Highlands revision, let's assume for a moment I do not know if I need that type of revision. I would select Highlands, provided that I have disabled my pop-up blocker, and a help box will pop up explaining to me what a Highlands revision is. Let's select Highlands and select Continue. We are now on Section 3. This section ensures that you have selected the correct application type. Answer all questions honestly. The first question is asking if you have submitted the proposal to the designated planning agencies. This answer should be yes, otherwise you should not be submitting an application to the office. If for whatever reason the proposal does not fall within the jurisdiction of a designated planning agency, then you will select an A, and by default, NJDEP is the designated planning agency. The next question asks if the proposed revision is in the Highlands planning area. This answer should be yes, or you will not be allowed to continue with the application. This final question will determine if the application is the right type of revision. The answer should be yes, or you should not be submitting this application to the department, or you need to choose a different type of revision. Select Continue. Section 4 is the WQMP area selection. Here you will select the WQMP areas that the proposed revision falls within. You have the option of selecting more than one. If for whatever reason you make a mistake, you can clear it, or you can select and you can deselect. Section 5 is the application name. I would highly recommend that you name your applications with the project name, followed by the type of application you're submitting, followed by a date, and select continue. Section 6 is site information. Here you will upload a GIS shapefile. Please make sure you have read the guidance on our website and or watched the video about a successful GIS shapefile submission. You can also go to the upper right hand corner, select help, make sure your pop-up blocker is disabled, and a help box will pop up explaining the directions for a successful shapefile submittal. However, if for whatever reason you do not need to upload a shapefile, you have the option to select this box. Underneath the shapefile submission is block and lot. You have the option of adding block and lot one by one. You can add a range, but if this does not apply to what you're submitting, you can also select this does not apply and select continue. Section 7 is service details. Here you will provide additional details for your application. The first thing you will do is you will provide a WQMP document name. The service will then ask you to select a reason for the revision. And you will select these three options. And you will select continue. Section 8 is contact information. Here you will enter contact information for the applicant, the agent, and the property owner. Keep in mind that anything with an asterisk is mandatory. And I also highly recommend that you check this box in the upper right hand corner in order to save all this information to your contacts. This way, if you return to submit another application, you won't have to repopulate this information. Select continue. Section 9 is attachment upload. Here you will provide and upload additional documentation that supports your revision. So let's add that. You can also add other attachments if need be. If for whatever reason you upload the wrong file, you can also select remove over here. I have uploaded all the attachments, and I can tell that they've been uploaded based on the status column over here is green. Again, if I need to remove anything I uploaded by accident, I have that option. And again, I can also add other attachments. Select continue. Section 10 is a certification page, just you certifying that what you have submitted to the office is accurate. So check the box and select continue. Section 11 is a certification page. This page is just ensuring that you are who you say you are. You will put in your certification PIN and you will select certified. So you now have submitted a Highlands revision, so select continue. We are now on the summary page. The summary page basically gives basic information about the application that was submitted. So here you have your service information, which is important if you need to reference back to your application or if there's issues we're trying to troubleshoot. Your service ID is very important. Here we have contact information. Here we have all the answers from your application. We have a list of all the attachments, and then we have the certification as well. So select Return. Return takes you back to the My Workspace page. If you go down to the bottom to My Services Submitted, here we have our application. As of right now, it has been submitted, meaning it's been submitted, but the department hasn't really picked it up. Do not worry about that. That corrects itself within like a couple of seconds. Here you have your summary, your history, and then once the submission is successful, you will also get a PDF version. It's all the same information. So let's refresh it so we can make sure it was actually successful. And there you go. Submission successful, and we have our PDF. You have now submitted a Highlands revision. Salutations. The purpose of this guidance is to provide a walkthrough for submitting a Pinelands revision. Please make sure you have read the guidance on GIS shapefile requirements before starting this service. Before we select Pinelands revision, let's assume for a moment I do not know if I need this particular type of application. I would select the link, making sure that my pop-up blocker has been disabled. A help box will pop up explaining what a Pinelands revision is. As you can see, a Pinelands revision can only be requested by the Pinelands Commission. If you are not the Pinelands Commission, you cannot select this type of revision. So let's select Pinelands and hit continue. The first question is asking if I consulted with the designated planning agencies. This answer should always be yes, otherwise you should not be submitting an application to the department. However, if you do not fall within a DPA area, then you can select an A, and by default, NJDEP is the DPA. The next question wants to know if the proposed revision is in a state-regulated Pinelands area. The answer must be yes, otherwise you cannot submit this application. The following question asks if you are the New Jersey Pinelands Commission. This answer should be yes, otherwise you cannot submit this application. Then you will select Continue. Section 4 is basically you selecting the eWQMP area or areas that the proposed revision lies within. You have the option to select more than one eWQMP. And if for whatever reason this is all wrong, you can select Clear. You can also select and deselect. So we're going to select, and we're going to select Continue. Section 5 is the application name. I would highly recommend that you name your application project name followed by the type of application you're submitting, followed by a date, and select Continue. Section 6 is site information. This is where you will upload your GIS shapefile. Please make sure that you have read the guidance on the website and or watched the video on how to submit a shapefile successfully. However, if the type of revision that you were doing does not require a shapefile, then you can select I do not need to upload a shapefile. There's also additional guidance provided in the upper right hand corner about shapefile submissions. You can select that link. Again, make sure your pop-up blocker is disabled, and a help box will pop up giving you directions. Underneath that is block and lot. You have the option of entering block and lot information a single row at a time. You have the option of adding a range of lots in a particular block. You also have the option of saying that this does not apply and selecting continue. Section 7 is where you will provide additional information. So what they're asking for here is please provide the WIMP document name, it's asking additional details like what type of revision is this. You have sewer service area, the wastewater treatment facility, or other. If you select other, you will be required to put in a description. And then you also need to select the reason for the revision. And there's only 2 reasons. And select continue. Section 8 is the contacts page. Here you will enter contact information for the applicant, the agent, and the property owner. I would highly recommend that you select this box in the upper right hand corner, save to my favorite contacts. That way the information you just populated within these 3 boxes is saved. So that way when you come back to submit another application, you won't have to repopulate this information. Select continue. Section 9 is the attachment upload page. Here you will attach documents that support your application. You have the option of adding additional attachments, which can include this as well as other. If you need to remove them because you accidentally uploaded something you don't need to upload, you have the option to remove here. So I'm going to upload my documents. I have uploaded my documents, and as you can see, they've been successful based on the status column. I got green buttons here. Again, I can add additional attachments. I can also remove them if need be. So let's select continue. Section 10 is me certifying that I am the Pinelands Commission and I can actually submit this service. So select the box and hit continue. Section 11 is the certification page, which is basically ensuring that I am who I say I am. So we're going to answer our challenge question. We are also going to put in our certification PIN, and we're going to select certify. We have now submitted a Pinelands correction. Select continue. This is our summary page, and the summary page has our service information. The service ID is very important in case we want to refer back to our application or troubleshoot issues with our application. Here's the contact information, all the answers to the questions, the files that were uploaded, the certifications. You need to select return. Return takes us back to the My Workspace page. And if we look at the very bottom at My Services Submitted, here we can see that our project went through and all of our information is here and our submission was successful. And then we have a summary, a history, and a PDF, which is all basically the same information. So you have now submitted a Pinelands revision. Salutations. The purpose of this guidance is to provide a walkthrough for submitting a transfer revision. Please make sure that you have read the guidance on GIS shapefile requirements before starting the service. Before we select transfer revision, let's assume for a moment that I do not know if I need this type of revision. I would select transfer, making sure that my pop-up blocker has been disabled, and a help box will pop up explaining to me what a transfer revision is. After reading that, I will then make a decision. Let's select transfer and hit continue. We are now on section 3. This section ensures that you have selected the correct application type. Answer all questions honestly. For the purposes of this video, I am in the role of the county. The first question asks if I have submitted this proposed transfer to the designated planning agency. This answer should be yes, otherwise I should not be submitting an application to the department. However, if I do not fall under the jurisdiction of any designated planning agency, then I can select NA, and by default, NJDEP is the designated planning agency. The next question asks if I am part of the county or a municipality. This answer should be yes, otherwise you are submitting the wrong type of revision. The next question is trying to determine whether I'm at the county level or the municipality level. I will select yes, and then I will select my county. And then after that, the question is, does this submittal include a schedule of the wastewater management plan? This has to be yes, otherwise you cannot submit this type of application. I will select yes, and I'm allowed to continue. But let's say for a second that I'm actually the municipality. So I would still select yes here, but for this question, it is no. The service will then ask me to select my county. Then afterwards, it would ask me to select my municipality. Then it still asks if this revision includes a schedule. It has to include a schedule, otherwise you cannot submit this type of revision. So we're going to select continue. Selection 4 is the eWQMP area selection page. Here we're just selecting the eWQMP where the transfer is going to take place. You can select multiple eWQMPs. If it's wrong, what you can do is you can select clear. You can also select and deselect as well. So let's hit continue. Section 5 is the application name page. Here you will put in a name for your application. I would recommend to you that you name your application with the project name, the type of application you're submitting, and a date. And select continue. Section 6 is site information. For a transfer, you do not need to upload a shapefile at all, because it's basically transferring authority from one entity to another. So we can skip this altogether. Section 7 is asking for additional details. You need to provide a WIMP document name, so we'll just put in a name. We're going to put in the current authorized WIMP agency, which will just, after typing in the WIMP document name, you will then need to provide who is currently authorized to do wastewater management planning. I've already selected the county, and then you need to provide the name of to whom the authority is transferring to, which would be the township. Then you need to select a reason for transfer. The county denied responsibility. The municipality sometimes can decline responsibility, or you can have another reason altogether. So, but if you choose other, know that you will be required to put in a description. Okay, so now let's select continue. Section 8 is the contacts page. Here you will enter contact information for the applicant, the agent, and the property owner. I would highly recommend that you select the box in the upper right-hand corner in order to save it to your favorite contacts. That way, if you come back to submit another application, you won't have to repopulate this information. Hit continue. Section 9 is the attachment upload page. Here you will attach your documentation to support the transfer. You have the option of adding additional attachments as well. And if you upload something by accident, you can always remove it by selecting the X over here. I have uploaded my documents, and as noted by the status column, everything looks good. Hit continue. Section 11 is certifying that you have the authority to submit a transfer revision. Hit continue. Section 11 is certifying that you are who you say you are. So let's do our challenge question, which isn't case sensitive, and let's put in our certification pin and select certify. You have now submitted a transfer revision. Select continue. This is the summary page. The summary page gives like a basic overview of your application. Here we have service information to include the service ID, which is important in case we want to come back to your application or we're trying to troubleshoot issues with your application. Here we have contact information, all the answers to the service, all the files that were uploaded, and at the end, the certifications. Select return. Return takes us back to the My Workspace page. If you go to the bottom where it says My Services Submitted, we have it here. You know, all the information here. Our submission was successful. We have a summary, we have a history, and we also have a PDF, all of which is pretty much the same information. So you have officially submitted a transfer revision. Salutations. The purpose of this guidance is to provide a walkthrough for submitting a revised schedule revision. Please make sure you have read the guidance on GIS shapefile requirements before starting this service. Before we select Revise Schedule, let's assume for a moment I do not know what type of revision that is. I will then select Revise Schedule, provided I have disabled my pop-up blocker, and a help box will pop up explaining to me what a Revise Schedule revision is. Let's select Revise Schedule and hit Continue. We are now on Section 3. This section ensures that you have selected the correct application type. Answer all questions honestly. For the purposes of this video, I am in the role of the Wastewater Management Planning Agency. The first question asks if I have consulted with the designated planning agency. You cannot submit an application without talking to the DPAs first. So this answer should be yes. However, if I fall in a jurisdiction that doesn't have a designated planning agency, then my answer should be an A. And by default, NJDEP is the DPA. The next question asks if I am a wastewater management planning agency or if I'm acting on behalf of the agency. This answer should be yes, or you cannot submit this type of application. Select Continue. Section 4 is the eWQMP area selection. Here you're going to select where this type of revised schedule falls. You can select multiple areas if that's the case, and if it's wrong, you can clear it. You can also select and deselect as well. Select Continue. Section 5 is the application name page. I would highly recommend you name your applications with the project name, the type of application you're submitting, and a date. Select Continue. Section 6 is site information, but since this is only a revised schedule, you do not need to upload a shapefile. So we will select this box at the very bottom and select Continue. Section 7 is asking for additional information such as the WIMP document name. So we're going to just put in the WIMP document name. And then we need to select the reason for the revision. And we have several reasons here, but you can also select other, knowing that you will be required to submit a description. You can also add rows in case it's more than one reason. You can also remove them in case you accidentally select more than you needed. Let's hit Continue. Section 8 is the contacts page. Here you will enter contact information for the applicant, the agent, and the property owner. I would highly recommend that you go to your upper right-hand corner and select this box. That way all the information you just entered is saved for future reference. So when you come back and you want to submit a new application, you won't have to repopulate all this information. Select Continue. Section 9 is the attachment upload page. Here you will attach documentation supporting supporting your application. You have the option of adding additional information. You can also remove in case you upload the wrong file. So let's upload our information. The information has been uploaded. If we look at the status column, it has been accepted as denoted by the green bubbles. Again, you have the option to remove, and you can also add additional attachments. Select continue. Section 10 is the service-specific certification. This is just basically certifying that you have the authority to submit this type of application. Select continue. Section 11 is the certification page. Here you are just basically certifying that you are who you say you are. So we're going to answer a challenge question, which is not case sensitive, and our certification 10, which is case sensitive. And we're going to select certify. You have now submitted a revised schedule. Select continue. We are now at our summary page. The summary page basically gives basic information about your application, such as the service information. Your service ID is important in case you want to reference your application or try to troubleshoot it. There's contact information, all the answers to the questions that were asked, and then at the end we have your certifications. So now you will select return. Return takes you to the My Workspace page. At the bottom, under My Services Submitted, our project is here. The status says submitted, but don't worry about that because within like 2 seconds, it'll say submission successful. You have your summary, your history. The PDF will appear after the submission has been successful. So let me show you how quickly that happens. And there you go. Submission successful, and we have our PDF. So you have now submitted a revised schedule.